Guess you're
Do
just going
it.
fresh.
I'm going on push to talk.
Yeah, I don't have that feature, but I'll mute myself if I'm not talking.
I just get big bleed back, so I always prefer to do it. It's not really too much of an issue by now.
You actually
Okay,
sound pretty
so
good.
we should be live now.
I'm going on push to talk.
Got monitors coming through somewhere. But I'll mute myself if I'm not talking.
The audio live as well, mate.
I just get big bleed back. So
Yeah, it's live.
to do it. It's not really too much of an issue by now.
You actually
Okay,
sound
so
pretty good.
Yeah, I had a backup computer that got the audio.
There we go. It's definitely live. Hello, guys, and welcome to Total Space YouTube.
Welcome to the
Whoa.
chaos.
We're here
Hey,
in this video live today to analyse the SpaceX Starship SN8 test flight that occurred yesterday. Quite a lot of interesting things to reflect on, and we've got a few people here today. I'm another space nut. Does everybody else want to introduce themselves?
Hi there, guys. I'm Ryan from the Space Update. Got my own podcast going out on Wednesdays usually, and we also got Miko over there.
Yeah, I'm Mikko, the host of Deep Dive Fridays.
hey everybody, I'm Benno, also known as Jettison Guy, here to talk shop about SN8's test flight. It's great to be here, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming, Benno.
And everyone out there, thank you for coming. Cheers.
So first thoughts, guys. We've woke up this morning to find it trending globally. It's on the front page of every newspaper. The radios are talking about it. Even the BBC picked it up.
Yeah,
Incredible. I mean, it's just absolutely mind blowing, wasn't it? I wasn't expecting it to just go so well, to be honest.
Like the day physics and engineering just hit a whole new height. Crazy.
Definitely. I mean, barring that, the landing, it was just near perfect. I think, barring the engines were a little bit flamey again, but I guess that's just excess fuel or gases around the engine just burning off and everything. But other than that, it was pretty much spot on, I think.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the space shuttle as we sit here talking about it now. Just the ultimate glide.
Yeah, it was a lot smoother, wasn't it?
It was just the wings had it all under control, and it was just like an amazing thing to watch. It's like, why haven't we seen this before? We haven't, have we?
no.
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, to see them lose an engine on its way up and then still attempt that belly flop maneuver was just, I mean, wow! It was just mind boggling. Really, it was like I was looking at it, but I couldn't really process what I was looking at correctly. It was just such an overwhelming moment.
I don't know if it lost an engine. I think they were just knocking out the engines one by one to reduce the velocity on going up. But on the landing, I noticed that the number 42 engine that Elon tagged over on Twitter and everything, on landing, that one didn't actually relight. So I don't know if that was intentional or whether the third engine was supposed to light, hence why it came down a bit faster than planned.
Yeah, I think the two engines that were supposed to be on lighted up, but the other one shut down, and Elon did say something about what's the backup tank? The backup tank's pressure being too low.
Yeah, the header tank, yeah. It was pressure too low, so obviously maybe you couldn't run on all three, I just had to run on two.
Seemed to shut it all down, classic Elon style. Was like, I'm done here, we've got our data, we are good, see you later, awesome.
Hold
You know, it was kind of like, bang, done, see you later. And the whole world shut down the Northern Hemisphere, and I'm sitting in Australia just going, what just happened? And everyone went to bed.
Yeah. So our video is pretty laggy. I'm gonna have to set our quality down a bit.
Okay.
No problem.
That means going offline for 30 seconds or so.
Just all the things you've been doing behind the scenes, all the stuff that's made you, what you've learned about Starship, the sea launch system, all the stuff, just run it in the sense of what what this means for all of us. Like, it's crazy. Someone's got to sort of drive the bus. I guess it should be either one of you guys, Ryan, or
Okay, we
I
should
mean
be back
you as well,
live
all of
again.
us. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Okay,
Back
the
live.
video is laggy again.
Hmm. Whoopsie.
Well, this is kind
Apologise
of
for
a
the
test
video lag,
stream.
guys. I work pioneering the way on YouTube.
So we back
Winging
for a
it,
new
like I said.
stream.
Yeah.
We're back.
Hello, everybody.
So if you've got experienced any video lag issues, guys, maybe turn down the resolution your end, and that should help. Naturally, YouTube has issues sending the data out as well, so that might help. And we are going to get back on topic.
Okay, actually now it's looking pretty
So
good.
the belly flop.
Cool. The belly flop.
I mean, let's talk belly flop, guys. I know a lot of people assumed it wasn't possible this time last year when it was announced. Even
So we're talking
2 days ago, if you'd have taken bets for whether it would have belly flopped or not, people would have said no.
Are we talking for the apogee flop or the landing burn flop?
Both really. I wasn't expecting it just to apogee, just to gently fall. Well, it didn't quite gently fall, but just gently tip forward. Because at first it looked as though when it was running on that single engine at the apogee,
Yeah.
it looked as
Had
if it
the
was
RCS
tilting the
going.
opposite way, and I thought, oh no, it's going to fall backwards. It's going to fall backwards. Then at the last minute, it just went whoa, for the right direction and just beautifully glided down. A hell of a lot smoother than I assumed.
Yeah, the single engine there was like, what's going on? And when it just cut out, we
For a
thought,
split
wow.
second, I thought it was going to flip the other way. It looks like that single engine was fighting with the wind, with the wings open and everything.
From what I can tell, there was a RCS going on the belly that were firing shots out in the belly to keep it upright at one stage there.
Yeah, you could see it like working its head off, literally. The RCS thrusters just trying to keep the nose pointing upwards. And
Stream more. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
2 minutes.
Just gonna shut some stuff down.
But when it just started gliding down, I was like, it was just the next stage. It's beautifully gliding down. I thought, is it going to slow down enough? Is it going to slow down enough? And it was just at that last very second when it done the flip, I was like, oh my god! It actually, I don't know, I can't even describe it. It's just like that flip at the end, just to self-right itself for landing, just done it so effortlessly.
It did.
Hands off to the guys that done all the engineering, software, everything else involved with that. It's absolutely incredible to get that close first time. Insane.
It's like maybe the second time I watched it, I thought, fire the engine now, and I reckon there was about 3 seconds after that, and then I watched it again. I'm like, yeah, now, and then 3 seconds later, so I'm thinking they've got to probably just reset the ground level and latency or something there.
Yeah, you could tell the fuel mix wasn't right because I don't know if you noticed the massive green glow coming from the engines. I don't know if it was like lock rich or something like that, just causing that green glow. See it similar in Firefly's rocket when they start that up.
Something got rich there.
Engine rich, maybe.
I think Scott Manley's got a theory on that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but there's some copper on the engine bell, so it could have been that.
2 minutes 30.
Potentially, yeah.
There'll be a lot of theories running around until we get, I guess, some kind of news. But just seeing it just glide and watching the wings work was just the one thing I'm still getting over. I'm sure a lot of other people out there too, like you guys as well. It's just like, what is going on? It's working, like straight off the bat. Boom.
Then come SN15, we'll have to do it all over again with a slightly different prototype by the sounds of it, with major design updates and other bits potentially.
Mike's saying in the engine cough was due to a lighter Starship to keep it from accelerating too much. You can only throttle down so far, so as you can see the Starship compensate for it half a second before it shuts off.
Yeah.
The RCS were firing pretty rapidly as it was going towards the concrete.
Yeah.
You're always going to run a risk of just, yeah. I can't believe how far simulations and wind tunnel testing and all that. That just shows how far they've come with all that. It's just
And I mean,
incredible.
the one thing while you're saying about computer animations, look at just how accurate a lot of the animators in the space scene got it. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
there's people
for
like
sure.
Eric X and Neo Park that nailed it, that knew it was going to do something along the lines of what it did, and nailed it with animation. So when we saw it, although we'd seen these animations and we'd saw it, we were pretty confident that it was going to run. I don't
Mm.
think we quite expected what we got. And I know it's on the front page of every newspaper and stuff this morning saying the prototype rocket failed and it exploded. But going into this, we were expecting it. It wasn't a surprise to the space community.
Not at
Yeah.
all. I mean, it was a surprise that it took off.
I thought it wasn't going to at first. It just took off so slowly from the pad. It was like, I thought,
I
oh
was
my god, it's just going to come back down any second.
the whole
Yeah.
amount of logistics involved with clearing the pad and the road and the closures and the FAA filings and all that stuff. I mean, you'd be like you said in another space note, you go, Elon's not going to be waiting and taking his time on this. He'll be to get it off the ground as soon as possible. So I'm thinking maybe it costs a few $100,000 a minute, and
Yeah, maybe.
when it hit the concrete, it was like, "Yep, job's done. Great test. See you later. Let's open the road." You know,
I mean,
some
they've
funny
got enough
stuff.
hardware, haven't they? It's not the only prototype they've got sat close by and ready to go. So
Mm.
a lot of people are going to be looking at it as, oh my god, they've thrown this rocket there. It's a case of waiting for the ground around it to clear, make sure there's nothing nasty and dangerous to humans there, which they've got spot on site for. Then load it up, get another one ready to go on the stand since we didn't destroy the stand this time, and we could be as little as 4 weeks away from seeing this again with the next generation hardware.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
not necessarily next
Like
generation, but just SN9 is just slightly more improved. Well,
with
the next iteration of Starships is just some fine tweaks, isn't it? I think the SN9 has more of the higher grade steel. Remind me what it is. It's 304.
Yeah, 304L.
Yeah, I think I don't know if SN8 was 50/50 of the stronger metal, but SN9's like more of the 304L, well, the 304X material that they're working on.
Yeah, it should make the tank a bit more durable.
good for heat.
Not that it needs it, like it almost landed first time, but
There's going to be a lot of footage coming in tonight, guys, and all you guys out there. I hope you all get to see it. And
yeah,
if you have,
SpaceX are constantly posted a video out. It was just the land and flip maneuver with a camera directly underneath the Starship. That was incredible to see.
with
So
a nice time
hopefully
code
we'll see
underneath.
some.
Nice.
That was good.
And when the Starship was going up and it first shut down an engine, I was thinking the engine failed, but when it shut down the second engine, it started to look like very intentional.
Yeah, I thought the three Raptors together were bound somehow, maybe, but as one unit, they do in unison. They move, but I didn't know they did that. They'd flip one out as they turn them off and move them independently like that. I was worried they was just going to fall out. Sorry.
Sorry, it was me interrupting you. I apologise,
It's all
Benno.
good.
Each engine is capable of independent gimbal.
Incredible.
I think we're about to see that on the stream now at about 1 minute and 45 seconds. You'll see each of the engines gimbal as the one in the upper left of that bottom right screen starts to shut off.
Yeah. When it shut off, it just rattled around and moved out of the way, didn't it?
Yeah.
Out of safety. But like I say, once you saw that second one, like Miko said, it's like, yeah, I see what they're doing there.
Would have been great if we had like a altitude gauge on the left telling us where the 12.5 was. I was kind of wondering, did it hit the 12.5?
Well, according to Elon's
I
tweet,
think it might,
yeah, it hit the apogee.
Yeah, nice. So that's milestone one, really, isn't it?
Yeah, Elon tweeted that they would have been content with the flight even if they were to hit the apogee, but the controlled descent and an almost landing were really great.
I mean, the reignition itself was like a mind blow after the whole glide, after the whole skydive.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was like
totally.
that,
the
that whole way down, it was just like, are they going to relight? Are they going to relight? So just saying one, there's a second one, yes.
it all seemed under control. Like I'm still wondering if Elon did hit the self destruct at the end because it was on the pad. He thought if it falls down, it could be pointed at something. No,
Well,
and then
I think it blew up when it hit the ground.
it did seem that way.
Yeah, I think the bottom tank ruptured, didn't
But it's
it?
kind of like the Hollywood thing when they cut to that last shot. It's like the wide open shot, which just goes, and
Yeah.
it just seems like it comes out of nowhere.
Did anybody watch it back frame by frame yet?
No, you haven't had time to
As
do
it
it.
hit the
No.
ground, you saw the top of the nose just sort of eat itself at the bottom and pop up slightly. It was great.
You could see in
Yeah.
the last frame on the bottom right of the flap there, you'll see that you know how the robot cam, I think it was on NSF, no, it's a space flight. There, the last shot was the flap hitting the ground, but there's a slight kink in the flap where it's frozen the last still of the footage before it exploded. So it's actually bent the bottom wing that little bit if you look closely.
Yeah, I don't know if you actually saw the legs retract on us on the way down
No,
at all.
didn't get
The
any
leg
leg action.
pop, I analysed the footage frame by frame almost immediately, and even on that last frame we got before it was just fiery stuff, the legs were still undeployed.
It was like 3 seconds off doing all that, it seemed. Maybe 2 seconds.
Maybe just came in way too fast, and it's the
It
computer
was
was
a
just like,
very
yeah,
nice
game
It
over.
was a very nice
Yeah.
gradual descent. The gradual descent was looking good. It was quite cushioned, but the angle was just a little bit harsh. And I think if they'd fired a little bit earlier, it could have evened out this that little bit more. But they're going to change that all up for SN9 for sure.
Did they take SN9 a bit higher since the flight
Yeah.
generally went well?
And
And not mess
wings,
around with the firings. Just let it go. Say, well, let's give her all three and save enough fuel, or work out the mix or the pressure. Maybe they're not running as high pressure in the tanks. We're not sure.
on the screen right now, can you see the RCS going like crazy as it was doing that flip, and then we get that Flappy Bird maneuver? I'm still in awe. I'm rewatching it now here with you guys, and I'm just like, look at it flap.
And
Look
like
at
all the
it. If you
bystanders.
take
Yeah.
it back a couple of seconds, go look at the RCS firing away as it turns around. Look, skip it back.
What time?
4:55.
You on? So we got any listeners out there? I haven't checked yet.
Yeah, we have 9 watchers,
Yeah,
viewers.
Any-
participate. We've got them watching on YouTube.
We've got
Well, the RCS was just working like mad at the apogee just to keep it right,
Well,
upright by the looks of it.
It looks like white ribbons.
Back to about
Coming out.
4:50, Miko.
Yeah. There's a bit of a lag. For the next time, we have to probably share the screen in Discord so we can watch it at the same time as it plays on the computer.
Yes.
But this is a first good
Yeah.
test stream.
Winging it, like I said.
Yeah.
Everybody that's watching this stream is privy to seeing all the screw-ups and stuff before we become professionals. This is our first attempt at doing YouTube, and if it could have gone wrong behind the scenes, it probably has done this morning.
It's a
Yeah.
culmination of hundreds of hours being in the background, helping out lots of people and enjoying all the fruits of the community in space. This is it. This was the moment. This is like, I think Apollo 4, really.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
an incredible journey behind the scenes to get Total Space alive, and I thank each and every person that's participated in any way, shape, or form in making it a reality.
Yeah, thank
Sure.
you to everyone.
And I remember right at the very beginning when I think it was a phone call with you, Space Not, literally like let's do it kind of thing. And I've been speaking to a guy called Miko, we'll get him involved, and it just span off from there. It was
Yeah.
just kind of like let's just stop talking about it and let's just do it.
And I mean, that first episode is actually episode 2. If you go back, the first episode recorded for Total Space. 1 second, look at that entry. Smash. Like, episode 2 of Total Space was technically episode 1, and me and Miko were sat in the voice chat for about 10 minutes just going, when are we going to start? When are we going to start? When are we going to start?
Yeah.
We were so nervous that it took so long to edit that it became episode 2 on Total Space, and the space update beat us to release.
So 4-2, huh?
Yeah. The meaning of
Yeah.
life.
Can't believe it. That's the time it clocked on descent. Or upon impact, I should say.
Yeah. And
Just wow.
also on Ascent, it was really nice to see how well the engines were controlled when one of the engines shut down. It didn't have any problem staying on balance.
They were looking after each other. They were working as a team. That's for sure.
Yeah.
The Raptors themselves are like a group of SpaceX staff. Techs just going, right, this is our job. We're going to do this. They did it so well. The engines perform amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah. Up until the
It
last
is a
seconds.
prototype.
I mean, really, that's what it is. It's the ultimate firing of 3 at once in the atmosphere and measuring that for ascent.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that the power that those engines kicked out wasn't too far off a Falcon 9. I mean, it's just, you don't really realise the sheer scale and power of it, really. Despite it only moving really slowly up to the 12.5k, it did have a hell of a lot of power kicking out of that.
And I mean, a lot of people this morning on Twitter and stuff are overlooking the fact that this is prototype testing. You know, this is pioneering work within the rocket industry. This hasn't been attempted before. Usually, rockets are made from space grade materials and built in clean rooms and not shown to the public. And what SpaceX are doing is a bold move. You know, there's no other launch provider being so open about a prototyping stage of rocket development.
I don't think it's fair that some of the papers are just purely focusing on the fact that the rocket's smashed into the ground. This has never ever been done before, or even people would dare attempt it, basically. A bit like the Falcon 9. I know others were doing landing rockets like the likes of Blue Origin and many others out there across the world, but until SpaceX actually done it, essentially, that no one thought it was really possible. And now again, you've got the likes of Starship doing that belly flop maneuver. Everyone thought it was absolutely stupid and crazy. It's not going to work. It's a waste of time, waste of money. And we saw yesterday it is possible. You just need to fine tune the engine and just stick the landing. Maybe SN9 or SN10.
So
My bet was SN10 before, by the way, just to put it out there. Aaron thought it was going to be in the teens.
What you said there about cost is quite important because once again, when you're building these rockets with carbon fiber and other space grade materials, it's a really expensive job. But what they're using here is stainless steel. You know, it's almost consumer grade. You can purchase this from your local foundry. You know, it's cheap enough.
The only thing with carbon fiber, you'd never be able to use it on the likes of what SpaceX are attempting, because although carbon fiber is super strong and everything else, it wouldn't be able to cope with the shock and the stress of a heavy landing. It runs the potential of cracking or just literally shattering if it's ice cold, potentially.
Yeah.
crazy how many things come into it. Like even the tracking station, like what was going on there. Be great.
And there's some amazing footage out there of some of the guys that were just a bit further away, just doing all the tracking cameras. The other guys for NASA space flight and various other people. I mean, there's so many videos out there, different angles and different views and everything. Just incredible to see so many people down there that were watching it. Everything.
Good to see people putting money back into their production level too. The
A lot of
images are just
amazing
amazing. So crazy. I just can't. I'm just blown away by how many people took on 2 days just to sheer launch energy.
And hats off to everyone down there that's literally reporting every single day, every little minor change and updates, and seeing each different SN9, SN8, and SN10 and 11 eventually roll out. We'll just get to see updates literally within reason, hour by hour sometimes. It's just incredible.
So what are we thinking for legs on the next few iterations? Do we need new ones? What are we thinking?
They're sticking with the current design until we get to the SN15, I believe, and then it's a bit of a conundrum, I think, because Elon said obviously no matter what you do, you're going to add mass, and he doesn't particularly want to add mass or weight to the Starship because it's already, as we've seen, it's heavy enough. Even with those 3 Raptors firing out at full throttle, you saw how slow it's ascended. Obviously, in Mars gravity, it probably shoot up 2 or 3 times faster because of the reduced gravity, but it still needs to have a good power to weight ratio to A, take off, and B, slow down for that suicide burn after the flip.
I'm thinking he might put some kind of turbo in the header tank or something now. I don't know how it all works, but something to just drive that fuel into that engine faster and more. I have no idea. SN9 will be that result.
Maybe the flip caused the lack of pressure in the top tank. So obviously you've got all the essentially some of the liquid anyways. You've got a ton of pressure in there, and then some of the liquid just sloshing around and everything. So where the inlet and outlets are for the fuel on those tanks when it's horizontal and then flipping to vertical, I don't know whether that's part of the problem.
Yeah, well, they've got cameras inside some of the tanks. I'm not sure if they had one in the header tank, but they put a lot of cameras on that ship.
Yeah, we'll never see that though, will we?
Yeah, there must have been like 20 cameras at least.
That would be the coolest tweet from Elon tomorrow. It's like,
plus they had ground cameras as well. So there's a lot of footage that we have seen from SpaceX to come as well. That's the interesting thing. As they get a bit more happy about the fact that they've, grounded some hardware in such a way, they'll start to release some amazing ground shots.
Yeah.
I think Elon stated that even on like Falcon 9, it has at least 20 odd cameras on, even on the Falcon 9s, but we only get to see maybe 2 or 3 of them. All the rest, I mean, they've accidentally shown the inside of the Falcon 9 once or twice in some of the live streams. Because they actually, when they have the cameras on the inside tanks, they have a little light of some sort that beams into the tank. So when they're filming it, they can see what's going on with the liquids inside the tank. They accidentally showed that in one of the live streams a while ago in the Falcon 9 launch for Starlink, I think.
Yeah, there's been quite a few of those views. Usually they last for a split second. But I think it was CRS4 when they had actually a bit longer video of it.
Yeah, it just looks surreal. Cause you just cut to that and it's like, what the earth is that? It's just like something that's
blue is liquid.
Yeah.
So, Miko, Miko, where does this autogeninous, how do you say it, pressurization fuel system thing? Like that, how do you say that again? Sorry, everybody out there to watch me bumble that all up.
I think it's autogenius. No.
Autogenius.
No, that doesn't sound right.
You know what I'm talking about. I'm thinking, did that have anything to do with that refire and all that green stuff? I mean, seems all
I'm not
connected, but I
actually
guess
sure if they had it yet, because the RCS kind of looked like it was still nitrogen gas.
Yeah, there's cold thrusters on this one, so it was just literally nitrogen, like cold nitrogen gas. Whether SN9 will have the hot fire thrusters, which are a hell of a lot more powerful, so that apogee flip will be a bit more plain sailing rather than hovering there for a minute or two. It's like, is it going to fall down the wrong way or not?
Yeah.
it's incredible.
But again, that'll be another thing to iron out, because the RCS thrusters are going to be switched over to the hot style thrusters gas, which are a lot more powerful. So they'll have to rejig a few things to control that. But I'm sure they have plenty of practice with that already.
Yeah. And I think SN15 could be a serial number that would have those autogenous methane thrusters.
Yeah. So that's got nothing to do with the actual fuel system for the rockets on the system right now. I thought that was something to do with the thrust puck. I must have been way off.
Well, I think they actually do have the pipes taking out the extra fuel back to the tanks, so they kind of have it set up already, except for the thrusters.
Right. And they'll be trying those out on the lunar lander. Those new ones. Those bigger thrusters they've got for the lunar lander.
Yeah, the thrusters on that the RCS or some of the styles of thruster, the ones on those look absolutely huge compared to what's on Starship.
Yeah.
Just to on the nose cone, if you like, just to flip it over. They're almost double or triple the size.
If only we
Yeah.
could switch Earth to Moon's gravity when we want to land a Starship, huh?
Yeah.
But once you're up there by the moon and everything, you don't need, if you slow down enough, you don't need too much thrust to control yourself and slow yourself down. Because essentially, the Starship can just land with these little RCS thrusters and within reason lift itself up enough off the surface before it relights the engines, those vacuum engines, to kick up a bit of velocity, pace, and everything.
I
Yeah.
feel like watching that analysis again. It's just like the staging down to where they had one engine going for that final descent part. I'm just wondering, were they ever going to...
The thing I'm curious about, we saw those engines shut off one by one and they flung themselves out, like springing around.
Yeah.
We're obviously going to have the 3 vacuum engines around that area anyway, so whether they can still ping those each engine out like they were doing there, still with that, because it looked like they'd just moved themselves out the way of the other thrusters while it was going up there. But once you got the 3 vacuum engines in there, would you still be able to do that? Shut them down in that way?
There's a bit of room in there. Just, I guess it's all trial and error with that, but I think they probably figured that one all out. So you've got maximum angle you can get on the transvector controller for each one. I mean, there was that diagram that's been circling around of the thrust puck plate for Super Heavy, the booster one, and the layout they've got sort of identified. Well, there's a diagram by Brendan, I think, on Twitter for the 8 engines, I believe, in the middle for the Super Heavy booster, and the gimbaling on that.
Yeah, that's the one
And
you did the audio, isn't it?
Oh, that was one of the Casper Stanley video with 3 Raptors, the ones we just saw on the test flight. But I was talking about there's a whole new gimbal system on this Ring of 8 for the Super Heavy.
Ah.
And, there's just a running theory right now from RGV Aerial. And there was a photo there I saw the other day, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. After doing
Nice.
Casper's video, I was intrigued to think, well, I have to learn a little bit more about this. And sure enough, the TVC was probably the highlight of the launch yesterday. I mean, the way the rockets were moving, the gimbaling, all that stuff. Not only were they performing well, but there was so much just keeping that thing going up like an arrow, as you can see it now. And
Yeah, that best bit is when it does that flip just before the well, I'll say the landing, but the boom, if you like. You see the two engines essentially almost as it comes back to the vertical position. You see the two engines almost pointing in two different directions. One to keep the upward momentum thrust, and then one just still kicking the engine. So you see them almost pointing in two different directions at one point.
yeah, they're just needing everything a little bit left and right just to keep it smooth. I mean, like, it looks so smooth. I can't imagine, once they nail it
I mean,
all.
they've had lots of practice with the Merlin engines, so within reason, they've got a lot of a large portion of data from the Falcon 9s within reason. Obviously, different fuel mix and different engine and everything, but it's the same principle of controlling the rocket and everything like that.
Yeah,
Because
really,
it's
the descent and the belly flop maneuver are the things that are new and very difficult.
yeah, like we're having people on it. It's going to be really important for that vibration level, and it looks like we've got a great chance of getting a pretty smooth not ride coming on for the SN20 plus, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's worth noting that the flight overall was a hell of a lot smoother than I expected from the apogee when it flipped and when it's done the flip for landing. I was expecting it to be a bit more severe, with it being essentially the first flight test of this anything to do with Starship. It was a lot smoother because I was worried about the G's. If someone were to be in that, they're going to be exerted to a hell of a lot of G's with the flip maneuver if they were in there in the test. Not that anyone in there in the test anyway, but the amount of G's exerted in there in the flip or the landing would be quite a lot. But what we've seen from the yesterday, it was relatively quite smooth, so it could be pretty much fine. I think G wise.
Yeah, I think so. And the whole flight was so smooth that Elon was very happy on Twitter, shouting hurrah at everyone.
Well, Elon wasn't expecting it to barely lift off the launch pad or get to apogee, so the fact that it got past there, all the way back down, and came not too far away from landing, it's quite incredible, really. So we might just see a bit of silence while we see SpaceX delve through all the data and put all that work towards SN9 before they get that one back off the ground into the area.
Speaking of Elon, interestingly enough, his tweet immediately after Mars, here we come. That's
Yeah,
that's the end game of this project of his. We're watching rocket development for the first ever Martian rocket that is going to hopefully take supplies and colonists to make humans multiplanetary. We talk about
future.
that every week on Total Space over on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We talk about this dream of becoming multiplanetary, and this is the foundation work for that. This is a footnote in history. This is the moment where actually it becomes somewhat of a reality that this giant stainless steel tin can belly flop and attempt to land. And we're going to see more and more attempts at this, and yeah, there
It's
may be some ruds, but there's going to be
just incredible, isn't it? I
some
mean, the work they're doing. I think a lot of people out there underestimate it because some people just see that they've done the Falcon 9, so how much extra work is it to do the Starship? I mean, a lot of the guys I work with where I am, I've got a job outside of this, obviously. But a lot of the guys aren't into the space stuff, so when I talk to them, they're like, "We've got the Falcon 9, they can do it with the Starship quite easily." Like, yeah, but it's slightly different, just slightly different, quite a bit different. So I think it's a bit underappreciated out there at the moment, just how insanely complex Starship is, from the way it launches, the way it lands, literally everything, or the way it's powered, even because it's a full flow methane Raptor engine.
So there's a lot
Yeah.
of sci-fi movie fans out there. They're about to get a good kick in the guts because we've all been looking at these awesome 3D renders the guys do, and it was like looking at photos today. It was just like, what? And it was like when Nick Henning posted a photo today or some footage today on Twitter, he said, "This is not a render," and I was like, "Oh my god!" That's when it hit me. because
Yeah, there's a
it
few
was
guys out
kind
there.
of
There's Neil Park. He does insane renders over on Twitter quite often, just insanely detailed. Been working a lot on the Starship stuff, and he started work on like terrain stuff as well. I've seen recently for like the Mars surface and stuff. And then
yeah, and like
Eric X is, I think, has probably got the best simulation so far. Quite accurate, that barring the barring the landing and the engine shut off. I think it was almost bar for bar, pretty much how SN8 flown really.
Well, he also had the boom compilation, and one of those booms looked a lot of like this.
yeah. I was wondering if Eric's animations would end up being the reality of it all, and it was damn close.
Yeah, damn close.
We just
Maybe
need to.
Elon thought of making the explosion like
Yeah,
that.
you never know, like a stunt show. But I mean, yeah, it was like that's a very expensive special effect there, Elon.
Yeah.
But it looked great. It was like the ultimate firework. This thing can fly too. But looking into the future, what like another space nut was saying, with where this is all going, and just seeing all these computer-generated simulations of what we're about to like what we saw yesterday, leading up to that for so long now. It's been great to have that to keep us going and imagining it happening, and then to see it become a photo or a video as of today when all the footage starts rolling in tonight.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
This
it'll
is
be
kind of
interesting to
crazy.
see. Obviously, Elon's got his eyes set on Mars for 2023/2024, which I'm assuming might just essentially be the first flight to Mars for Starship. But what do you think he'll have in the payload bay that he might actually set on Mars, or even the Moon for that matter? So they've still got to test the
The
Moon lander at
recent,
the end of the day.
the recent Axel Springer Awards, Elon said if SpaceX get lucky, they could be sending an uncrewed ship towards Mars for 2022's home and transfer window.
With or without the Cybertruck.
You'll probably just put a Tesla dealer there, yeah? Chuck a few trucks down, a couple of cars, and go, I build a Tesla dealer on Mars. It's done. So if you
Put a
want to
Cybertruck
drive a
on there, go
Tesla,
and pick up Perseverance and Curiosity, just give them a lift down the road,
like,
drop them off. There you
imagine
go.
getting there. As soon as you get there, you're like, free Tesla, free apartment, free everything. I've got a job. This is awesome. It's like I just have to live in a dome for a while. 5 years, isn't it? Another space nose at 5 years?
5 years there and back.
Well, the 5-year mission, is it? In the sense of online, where you
Yeah, I mean, in terms of waiting for your transfer windows, really, like if you were to go there, you could immediately set off back, but it would just take longer than the 5 years to get back. So when
Yeah.
you get there, you've got 24 months on planet before it's feasible to make a return journey. So I mean, 5 year round trip. It's a scary thought, but at the same time, pioneers are needed,
Yeah.
and any future Martian pioneer is watching these tests closely. Like I hope to be a Martian pioneer, and I'm glad that these rockets are going bang and boom now, than when people are flying on them towards Mars.
Yeah, it's just incredible to see all the tests going on with just all the different companies. I mean, even just the landers for the Artemis mission and everything else. It's just incredible to see. I don't know if we've seen any more of the actual moon lander to do with the Starship, have we?
I was going to ask you guys about it. Like when I first saw the test flight, afterwards I thought, what's a space moment that probably this just beats, or what is probably the equal to? I was going to ask you guys, what for each person, what kind of space moment is there in comparison, or what you think that was better than, or you know, what you hold dear to your heart in the sense of a space memory, and how this just obliterates it.
Well, this year there was, of course, the Demo 2 mission with Bob and Doug. That was really great, and this is at least on par with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I'd
cool.
agree. DM2 was a really good moment. This is absolutely spectacular to see. Nevertheless, this I think The two are almost comparable because they were both space moments of 2020, but then they're polar opposites in terms of what they represent.
For me, I think, I mean, my favourite space moment, a bit unrelated, but the way Curiosity landed on Mars with the sky crane, like years ago, that was just insane the way that landed, and seeing SpaceX do that with SN8 yesterday it just blew that out of the water basically for me. I couldn't believe it. Just as soon as you just saw it lift, the engine light. I was just like, is it going to blow up? Is it going to lift off? You just saw it slowly rise, and I thought, it doesn't even look real. It's just that big. It's just unbelievable.
I was
Yeah.
thinking exactly that, Ryan, when I thought of the Starship test flight and how crazy that was for me. Like, just the flying aspect, but more so just the space moment. But I thought of the Mars Curiosity first panoramic that went in the front page of the news when they done that first big, massive file, digital file. It was the first packet I think they received from the rover, the Curiosity. It might have even been the first one, but there was a massive panorama, and I thought, you know what? It's just an image, but that's probably what I think of with Starship in the sense where it's going. It's like it's going to end up there, and they'll be sitting there, and the Curiosity rover will be sending back images of the Starship sitting there.
Yeah,
You
it'd
know,
just be unbelievable, won't it?
I
When
mean,
once we see essentially a starship sat on the face of Mars.
and that whole aero braking system for the wings and the flaps. I mean, if they can get that all sussed out and everything, I mean, they can pinpoint those landings. We're going to they'll be able to land them right in front of the rover to say, hey, I'm right over here. Just come over, spend a couple of days coming over my way, and we'll do some shots.
Yeah. I
Like a
mean,
model.
on Mars, the atmosphere is a lot thinner, so I imagine they'd have to do that flip probably a hell of a lot earlier.
Mm. But didn't I think the air's a little denser on the lower regions of the atmosphere? Is that right, Miko?
Yeah. The lower you are, the denser the atmosphere is.
Yeah, so I'm thinking they'd probably be burning more fuel if they did it in the upper atmosphere compared to burning through the lower part less. Who
Yeah,
knows?
it's
Yeah.
one of those things. It'll slow down less in the upper atmosphere, but slow down more in the lower atmosphere. So it's just 6 and 2 threes kind of thing. It might need to fire up a little bit earlier. It might not. It's a whole different ball game, but I'm pretty sure SpaceX have got all the data to work and fathom that out.
Yeah, I was just I'm hoping if Elon hears this, I found out the other day there's a gravitational anomaly with Olympus Mons. So anything in orbit around Mars, it's got a kink when it goes past the big iron plate below Olympus Mons for the volcanic plate there. Apparently it shifts things out a bit. So that could be tricky.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, okay, let's suss this planet out. Let's suss this ship out. By the time we meet together, we should be get radiation sorted, and boom, there's your colony. Why not?
Yeah.
And we'll probably see, just related to going to Mars and everything, we'll probably start seeing longer longer tests being done at the International Space Station with astronauts staying up in space for longer. Because I
Wonder how
think the
many.
longest is about just over a year, I think, that has been in space in the International Space Station.
Yeah, about a year.
So if we're talking a 5-year round trip, they'll have to do more tests up at the International Space Station or
Yeah,
a newer space station when it comes along.
they've done like the longest is like 720 days or something for one astronaut, I think.
We've seen long duration space flight on the International Space Station, but I think in that 5 years, we also need to account for being on the ground for 24 months, so that in a much lower gravity.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is ways, but they just don't exist yet. But if
I mean,
someone,
there is
yeah,
there is the radiation factor and everything else, but I'm sure Elon can harness the what the Tesla vehicles have. The oh my god, the words just out my head at the moment. But like the air filtration systems in the Tesla vehicles just filter out. You're seeing people in the Australian outback when there was all the bushfires and everything, just sat in the Tesla cars, like, yep, no smoke's getting in our Tesla. We're absolutely fine. Thanks, Elon, for saving us, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, where you, Miko? Could you see what was going on with the flight yesterday? Did you sort of like go, okay, this isn't going to land, or did you see anything through the images and the video, or the video you watched?
Yeah, I mean, I was not expecting it to go that well. I mean, I expected it to reach apogee and fall down to the ocean, but yeah, that was great.
We did get an extra little gift package, didn't we? It's kind of like a nitro boost on Discord.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to hit the tarmac and show you why I spent so much time making concrete. It's like, that concrete's pretty good, dude. I like your concrete. It seems to have survived.
I know Elon said it created, but I don't think it created that much. Although it did come down with quite a thud and exploded, but I think the landing pad might be reasonably okay. Maybe just a minor repair, hopefully.
Yeah, there's not too bad.
That was funny.
Yeah. But not too bad craters.
Did so well. It's just astonishing. It's like super heavy. I think it had the same effect as super heavy. I mean, sorry, not the Falcon Heavy launch. Definitely had a bit of that magic. And the flames went green. I thought of Star Wars straight away.
Yeah, when they went green, I thought when those flames went green, I thought, oh no, something's not right with the engines. They're either underpowered or the fuel mix is wrong or something.
Yeah.
It's just sort of not quite even, just like looking at it like slow down. Like, yeah, that's going to hit the ground too fast. Then boom.
And there's some really wide shots. There's a couple of wide shots where you could see it really sort of giving it that resistance and that drag as it came down. You could see how it was actually just gliding or skydiving.
Yeah,
it was actually you
sure.
could see the resistance coming off the wings. When they just move the wings a bit, you get those massive wisps, and all the tri locks ventilation system and stuff looks great too. That looked really good on the pad with the new cameras on the I got to say, great job to SpaceX on those new cameras around, and then not to mention all the live stream guys and what they did, all the people that are about to send through everything. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know, but I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I bet all of us were very excited. I had trouble sleeping at night.
Same. I was just doing all the few notes for this, just so we got some bullet points and everything. Just reading all the Elon tweets and everything like that, and we'll just have to wait and see what they bring out next. Obviously, SN9, we'll start to see testing on that, but we'll just get on with the basic testing for now and then do the minor tweaks later.
It's like, what's next? There's so much to do. It's like just not going to stop.
And then there's the booster, obviously.
Mm-hmm. They got all the bits too. It's like, what's going to happen in that high bay once SN9 comes out? Super Heavy's going to get stacked.
Yeah. So like, when do you think? When do you think?
Sorry, Nico.
When do you think we will see the orbital flight with Super Heavy booster and Starship?
SN15.
2022.
Time frame.
I think SM15 will have the heat shield and everything on it, warners, but that's again a whole different ball game. In theory, you might just see it completely work, but prove me wrong. But that'd be good.
If we had the legs down, I'd be a lot more. I'd probably add another 3 months, 6 months up the time line, but I wouldn't do it right now because it just seems to be getting in the way, the whole Super Heavy leg system and We'll see. I think if they get all the thrust on the knocker, and they nail the timing of all that, and the flight works. So it's like, well, you can just use all that to compensate for those legs. So they don't have to be great. It's just like, well, one or the other has to happen, or both come merging into place to give us a nice cushioned landing each time, where we can all go, that's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah.
The little Apollo lander on the moon, that it's so low gravity, Apollo 11 spacecraft, the lunar lander, but the way they did that was like a little, just a little drop at the end. It's like, that's what you're going to get. And I think the legs can take that, where they're at now. But it'd be good to see something a little bit more resistant, and a little bit more flexible for terrain and things like that. But hey, I've been sitting on my pad sketching ideas for legs right now, and I'm going to try and get in touch with someone who can do animations.
Nice.
It's got to be done. Leg on. But yeah, crazy day, just amazing result, and really cool to see everyone just having a blast doing it, like seeing it and experiencing it. I mean, I felt kind of sport because I was sitting there watching it while all these people were focused on it, what they're doing with their camera, making sure they got the shot. Like Mary's tracking and Jack's tracking and all that on NSF was pretty amazing. But I'm thinking that's a lot of concentration to do that. It takes a lot of power. I don't know if you guys ever tracked a rocket before with a camera.
Nope.
Any
It's
closing
really
comments,
hard.
guys, before we finish this stream up? Any closing comments?
Bet you another space. No, really like to hear what your favourite part of that flight was before we close out.
I couldn't define a favourite part, genuinely, but from
Just
start
that
to
good.
finish, it was just
so many different points, wasn't there? Just
Yeah.
still processing it.
I'm glad to get to decompress here on the show with you guys. So thanks for having me on it, and
No problem.
to all your listeners out there, thanks for coming.
No worries.
everybody on YouTube. Thanks for joining us today. I'd also like to give a big shout out to our Patreon supporters. If you feel we're making great content and you want to fund our expensive coffee habits, feel free to visit patreon.com/totalspace. And for that, you would get exclusive access to our Discord server where you can do eavesdrop sessions and even participate like Benno's doing today.
And I've been Ryan from the Space Update. I have my own podcast show. It goes out every Wednesday. And as always, it goes out on all the podcast platforms out there and on here on YouTube as well. As always, like and subscribe on YouTube, and you can find us on all your favourite podcast apps.
And I've been Mikko, the host of Deep Dive Fridays that are usually on Friday, but today was a special show. And yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at TotalSpaceNet here on the screen, as well as other hosts. And we also have a website at totalspace.net.
And also we have Rich's show, being able to join us today. Rich's multiplanetary episode that talks everything future, past and present and everything. And that's every Mondays also.
Thank you for joining us once again, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for having us.
See you later.
Thanks.